Brace yourself, because this is going to come as a complete shock to you. Facebook was the social media network most used to organize the January 6th Capitol riot. Now, this is according to an analysis of the Department of Justice charging documents. The program on extremism at George Washington University has collected the indictments of 223 people. Now, these were people charged in participating in the Capitol riot. It's what's weird about this is Facebook was used by 73 of the people charged with crimes. That's more than all of the other social media sites combined. So how come Parler was banned?
It's always such a strange target to me, right? Like, Parler has its good points, but it was never a dominant social network. It was.
Well, it was with those crazies.
I guess that was the idea, right?
Yeah.
Like that the people we already banned off of Twitter keep going there.
Yeah.
So
no, they actually were at Facebook. More than all of the other social networks combined. That should say something. So why was Parler banned? And why was Parler banned from using Amazon's online infrastructure? I mean, look at what happened to them. It was only used by 8 of the people charged. Out of 220, only 8 were on Parler. Google, Apple removed Parler. This is collusion. This is Detroit, the big 3 auto manufacturers, putting Auburn out of business, putting the Duesenberg company out of business. That's what it is. They know what's good for them, and they got to get rid of any of the competitors. And so they will collude to destroy their competitors, anybody who's coming up.
And no knock on Parler. I like Parler, and I know some of the people behind it are real free speech believers. Like, this is why they started this. Like,
right.
So, but it's like, I think it's bigger than just knocking out their competition. I don't think Twitter or Facebook or Apple see Parler as competition. They were an upstart network. They were doing what they could do to get going. Where I think what they see is they want a threat to conservative speech in a very public way. Throwing off X or Y person off of Twitter sends some level of message, right?
Yes.
But just banning, you can't even go to a secondary platform and say conservative things. That says a lot more. I mean, it says to conservatives, don't even try to get on these platforms.
It ran a deep chill through everyone who does what we do.
It's message setting.
Because it wasn't just that they banned Parler and deleted the apps. It wasn't just that.
No.
It was, you can't use any of the infrastructure of the internet.
It's amazing. These people who pushed for net neutrality because God forbid Comcast might slow your Netflix. All of these years they complained about that. And when, places like Amazon Web Services are removing an entire app because they say too many conservative things, again, that's my summary of that situation, not theirs. But that is totally fine with the same people. Oh gosh, you might not be able to watch your Hulu at high enough quality. That's a real danger here.
So Facebook had 73 of the people that were charged said they were on Facebook and they were organizing through Facebook. 8 used Parler, but listen to this. This is from Sheryl Sandberg. She said this on January 11th in the Washington Post. She's, by the way, a chief operating officer at Facebook. She said, I think these events were largely organized on platforms that don't have our abilities to stop hate and don't have our standards and don't have our transparency. Sheryl, looks like you were wrong. All of your highfalutin hate speech filters didn't apparently catch it. Huh. What's up with that? Let me show you where we are headed. You think you have the First Amendment. This story would be in the old days, back in December. You would have looked at a story like this and went, well, that's why I live in America. And if you didn't understand that America was completely different than every other country in the world, you'd say, well, where's their freedom of speech? This story comes from Great Britain, Scotland. A man has been arrested and charged in Scotland, quote, in connection with an offensive social media tweet about Captain Sir Tom Moore. Now, do you know who he was? Sir Tom Moore, he's that old guy. He was like 100 years old. He was a World War II veteran. He was I think he was the first to get the COVID vaccine. Well, he died in the hospital, treated with pneumonia, and then so he got COVID-19. So apparently the whole COVID vaccination didn't really help him out very much. But he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. I mean, he was a big celebrity over there and seemed like a really sweet guy. So a 34-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with communication offenses and is due to appear at Lanark Sheriff Court Wednesday, 17th of February. According to the Daily Mail, the 35-year-old Joseph Kelly is due to appear at the court and accused of these communication offenses triggering outrage from free speech campaigners. The communication offense in question relates to a tweet that Kelly wrote shortly after Captain Sir Tom Moore's death, which read, trigger alert. Please, you've never heard things like this or seen anything like this on social media. So please, remove all children. And when I say children, I mean, of course, up to 26. So if they're up to 26 years, if you are 26, you know what? Let's make it easy. If you're under 50, please just go back into the crib and pull the covers over your face because you're not going to be able to handle this. He tweeted, the only good Brit soldier is a deed one, D-E-E-D. I think that's because that's the way they say it in Scotland. Deed. Burn, old fella, burn. Now, normally what I would do is go, you're an idiot. And I'd move on with my life. But that's because we live in this wilderness called America. According to the police in Scotland, the tweet was reported 3 days after it sat there on the internet. 3 days it sat there.
Oh, my gosh.
And it comes as the SNP continues efforts to introduce a new hate crime bill that will criminalize stirring up hatred. Now, that doesn't sound vague at all. But Section 127 of the United Kingdom's Communication Act, signed into law under Tony Blair's government, states a person is guilty of an offense if he sends by means of public electronic communication network a message or other matter that is grossly offensive or an indecent, obscene, or menacing character. And he will be liable, according to Section 127, on summary conviction to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months, or a fine not exceeding level 5 on the standard scale. Whew, level 5. Whew. If you don't think that's coming your way, they're already doing it. And you know how they're getting away around the free speech thing? Well, first, they're indoctrinating anybody under 30 to think that free speech isn't really free. You don't have the right to say something crazy about the government. You don't have a right to hurt people's feelings. What kind of speech needs to be protected? I mean, you can't just say that religious stuff anywhere. What, really? So what do you want you want the cat in the hat to be protected? What, I mean, nobody's really saying, well, I mean, they will be soon. How dare you put that cat in a hat? Cats don't wear hats. Why would you put a hat on a cat? You know, cats are people too. Mm-hmm. So I'm using this as an example. What time is it? I'm using this as an example for today only because this may seem like, listen to that fuddy-duddy next week when Cat in the Hat is suddenly really offensive. What kind of speech needs protecting other than the speech that really pisses you off? How are you misunderstanding this?
We should point out here so that our speech is not silenced immediately by all social networks and all across America, that Sir Tom Moore did not get the coronavirus vaccine.
There's a different guy?
He wanted to get it.
Oh, he was the guy who raised the money.
He raised the money. He raised $45 million for health workers. He was very famous around Britain. He would have had the vaccine. However, he was on pneumonia medicine already and made him ineligible for it.
So good.
Just
Thank
so
you. Good. Because I like the other guy, but I like this guy too. I mean, I think both of them were great, but I should be banned.
You should be banned.
I should be banned.
This is what should happen to you.
I should be banned.